Let's install Flutter so we can get started with Flutter development on Ubuntu 22.04. The first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that my system is up to date. So let's open the Linux terminal and let's run apt update. Great, so we're now up to date. The first thing we're going to install is Android Studio, and I'll install Android Studio via snap. So snap install Android Studio -- classic. And Android Studio is being installed. It won't take too long. Great, so Android Studio is installed, and now we need to start it. And that's what will trigger the SDK installation. So let's look for Android Studio. And here it is, let's start it. And it's a new installation, and I do not want to import anything, so let's click on OK. So here is the welcome screen, let's click on Next. And I'll go with the standard setup. And we can see the list of the things that are about to be installed. And we can see that among them we have the Android SDK, which is necessary for Flutter development. So let's click on Next. And we need to accept the Android SDK license. And also this license, Android SDK Preview license. So let's accept it as well. And let's click on Next. And finish. And it took a while, but it's finally done. Let's click on Finish again. And let's create a temporary Android project. So new project. And I'll go with basic activity. And here it doesn't really matter what I choose, so I'll just go with the default. And we need to click on Finish again. So that's done, and now the project is loading. Let's now click on File and choose Settings. And here we need to expand System Settings. And here we need to choose Android SDK. Here we need to change tab to the SDK Tools. And we need to check the box for Android SDK Command Line Tools. So now the command line tools will be installed, which are necessary for Flutter development as well. Let's click on OK. And they are being installed. Great, so this installation is done. Let's click on Finish. And we're done with Android Studio for now. Let's minimize it. We now need to close our terminal window and restart it. And now that we're done with the Android Studio requirements, let's go ahead to Flutter itself. So I'm going to use Snap to install Flutter, just like we did with Android Studio. And once again, we need the -- classic flag. Great, so Flutter was installed. Let's now run Flutter Doctor to see the current state of the installation. And we can see an initialization process that will only happen once. Great, and we can see the results for Flutter Doctor. We can see that we have one element missing, which is Chrome. But this is only needed if we want to develop for the web, which I'm not interested in right now. So I can safely ignore this error. But we can see that we have a problem with some Android licenses. And to resolve this, we need to run Flutter Doctor -- Android licenses. So let's do that. And we need to review the licenses that have not been accepted. And let's accept all of the licenses. Great, and we're done with that. Let's run Flutter Doctor once again. And we can see that the only thing that we're missing now is Chrome, which, as we said, is only needed if we want to develop for the web. Let's now move on to the development environment. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and once again, I'll use snap to install Visual Studio Code. So snap install code -- classic. Great, Visual Studio Code was installed. Let's start it. And let's open the Extensions tab. And here I'm going to look for Flutter. And the first result is the one we want. Let's go ahead and install it. And the Flutter extension was installed. Let's now open the command palette by Ctrl-Shift-P. And let's look for Flutter. And let's choose the first option, New Project. I'll go with Application. And we need to select a folder to create our project in. I'll create a new folder, Flutter Workspace. Great, and let's select this folder. And we need to enter a name for our new project. I'll just call it Example App. And our new Flutter project was created. Let's now choose our destination platform. I'm going to change it from Linux to the Android emulator. And we can see the Android emulator starting. And all that's left is testing our example Flutter application on the emulator. So let's click on the play button. And the project is being built, and then it will be sent over to the emulator. By the way, you may notice that the emulator is extremely slow. At least for me, this slowness only happens when Android Studio itself is open. So closing Android Studio usually helps. So let's go ahead and close Android Studio. And now things should be a bit faster. And we got the Flutter example application, and we can use it and see that it works.